it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Friday sews. I've made a few things this week, including a new top, the cherry blossom top from Joli Lab, and bought a few patterns, so I've got quite a few things to catch up on with you. But first things first, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the feedback on this dress, the Nicole shirt dress. Last week I asked whether I ought to raise the waistline so it was similar to my Armadale dress, and I think barring one person, everyone said leave it as is. I am so grateful and so privileged, for want of getting a bit hyperbolic about it, to have you all there to give me that feedback, because you know, we always say that sewing is a fairly isolating hobby and sometimes you just can't see the wood for the trees, and I was really struggling to make that decision, and I couldn't tell whether I was slightly swayed by the fact I really didn't want to do any unpicking. But yes, thank you so much, and added bonus, no unpicking. So I have left the waistband exactly as it is, or the waist seam exactly as it is. I have, as you can see, well, I've finished it, I've put the sleeves on. I do think that the sleeves are a bit of a funny length. Actually, I don't remember necessarily checking that on the pattern images. But yeah, to me it's a bit, I mean, it's literally at the crook of my arm there, and it's a bit neither one thing nor the other. So I think I probably will raise that so it's more of a traditional short sleeve length. But I'm really happy with it. I added 15 centimetres to the pattern length and I didn't really take much off that. Obviously I'll insert some pictures. So it's a little bit longer than it's designed to be, and I really like my skirts to be fairly long, so that just suits me. I'm 5'7", so I'm not massively tall, but taller. I really like this dress. I am going to enter it into the Instagram competition from the Sew Over 50 crew, which they're doing a thing which is called, I think it's called Sew Over Ageism, in March, very much promoting pattern companies that use a pattern model who is older as the main model on that sewing pattern. It's a shockingly low number of pattern companies that do that, given how many of us, and I know from the delightful YouTube analytics that a lot of you are my age and upwards, and a lot of us sew and a lot of us spend money on sewing patterns, and we are really underrepresented in the images. So I really want to kind of help promote and emphasize those sewing pattern companies. Sew Over It have definitely done that with this dress, so I will be taking a photo. I think you have to take a photo with the pattern image or impose the pattern image. Anyway, I'm really pleased with it. Super happy. I can see myself making more. Yeah, highly recommend it. Instructions, as I said last week, are really nice, and it's nicely drafted and pretty, yeah, trouble-free. Interesting way of putting the collar in. They don't, I've seen it with a couple of other pattern companies, they don't insert the collar and the collar stand in the traditional way. So you put on one piece of the collar stand first onto the neckline, you make your collar, and then you sandwich it. You then add the lining piece of the collar stand seam downwards, so onto the bodice, and then you fold it up and insert the collar. Rather than adding the collar to the collar stand and then sewing the completed item onto the bodice, you do it the other way. And I've done both because I've made quite a lot of shirts, and I've forgotten about doing it this way, and I quite like it. If you're somebody that worries about that little junction here where the collar stand meets the placket, that can get a little bit tricky. This method is quite a good one for, you know, overcoming that tricky corner. So if you fancy doing that, I'd check this pattern out. Nice instructions. So finished this relatively quickly this week, and Then I spotted that I said I'd made this Joli Lab pattern. As you know, I really like this pattern company. I've made a few things in the last few months. They were got an email saying they were having a 3 for 2 sale on patterns. I don't know whether that's still active or not, but I couldn't resist because I like nearly everything that they make. So I bought 3 patterns. I bought the Rachel top, which I've got it here ready to go, which is really just a very basic round neck knit top. Couple of different sleeve lengths, couple of different necklines, and it also has options for a low back. I just think, although there are lots of t-shirt type sewing patterns out there, I like the option to have, there's one of the options has a little gathered front, and I really like that option. I haven't seen so many of those. Probably if you put your mind to it, you could adapt an existing pattern in that way. But I kind of like somebody else to do the hard work for me. And I just thought it was a nice basic top to have in. Sometimes I make t-shirts and sometimes I just think, oh, life is too short, go buy it in the shops. But they are a good thing to use up just about a metre of fabric often, or 1.5 metres. And I really like this top. And then the other one I bought, I think it's called the Anouck, and it's a little padded waistcoat. It's got a little slightly frilly cap on the sleeve, lined, and they have got some really, really beautiful images on their website. I have no affiliation to them, don't think they even know I exist. But they have some really beautiful, beautiful print versions on there. And I thought that top is a great little thing to have at this transitional time of year where it's spring-like, but it's still a bit cold, and it's the UK and we know what the weather's like here. So I wasn't 100% sure about buying it because it's not the sort of thing I normally wear. So I've kind of been a little bit on the fence with it, but then when a 3 for 2 pattern sale came up, I thought that's a great excuse to buy it. So I haven't really got any plans in mind just yet. I want to think through what fabric or what colour fabric I would make that out of, because I have quite a lot of things at the moment that are print. So yeah, I just need to consider the fabric choice. But I really like that little jackety thing, and I think it would be great for this time of year. And then lastly, I bought the cherry blossom top, which is the one I made. I thought, when I saw it, that this could be a nice alternative to the Vali top, which is a top and a dress, the pattern Fantastique Vali, which I have made. I may have made 2 tops, certainly one, I've got it here, and a dress. And I really, really love that pattern. I think the dress, you've got to be a little bit careful with fabric choice. It can go a little bit hospital gown, but I really like it. It's a nice wafty dress to wear in the summer, and I really like the top. Here's the one I made last year, I think. I think this fabric was from Bornella Fabrics, and it's a viscose, so it's super, super drapey. But it is a bit of a pain the way that they have you sew the centre bodice, and I think a lot of people have kind of adapted it because it's done with, I think there's supposed to be a facing at the back and some strange folding here, and looks like I did it with this version. I made it as a lining because with viscose the facing, it was a pain. It's also got a super, super puffy sleeve, and it's sort of super and mega gathered at the bottom. And I was drawn to the cherry blossom because I thought it was a more streamlined, sleeker version of this and would look really nice for the spring. So it comes with 2 sleeve lengths, a short sleeve and a longer sleeve, which has the elasticated cuff, which is what I went for because you can always pull it up. And similarly, it has a centre front panel, but it doesn't have those. The Vali sleeves come from that centre front panel. This has, it's more like a sort of little princess line bodice at the front with set-in sleeves. Little bit of gathering under the seam line there. And I just thought it was really, really beautiful. Again, the images on their website are fabulous. There is the option to include a ruffle out of your fabric in between the front of the bodice and the side panel. And they also give you instructions on how, if you wanted to insert, say, some lace or some ribbon or something like that along that seam line, they give you, excuse me, they give you instructions on how to do that as well. So, yeah, I couldn't resist this. I thought it was really nice. The other thing that this pattern has that is, because it is quite different from the Vali, but the other thing that it has is that on the back, you have a little loop and button fastening at the neckline, and the two back pieces are separate. So you have, in effect, a vent. Now, I'm going to show you the fabric I made. Well, I'm going to show you the finished thing. I'm going to show you the fabric I made it out of, which, do not adjust your sets, has a pink background. Now, do you remember a few weeks ago I said I was getting a little bit bored of making lots of things out of brown and green, and I went to revisit my colours. I've pinned them up on my board over there. The colours that are supposed to be for somebody with an autumn, that's on the seasonal doodah thing, an autumn colour, and they're a bit limited. It is pretty much brown, green, orange, red, and some yellow. So I went online and had a look at some online versions to sort of see if I could broaden that a bit, because I was getting bored of it. And then I kind of came to the conclusion, why not just say, forget the whole thing and just make something that you really like the fabric, regardless of whether you think that fabric is going to suit you, and just, you know, go for it. Now, around that time, a very lovely sewing friend of mine, Rosie, who is a subscriber. We've never met each other, but we have talked before. Rosie sent me, she said, I'd like to send you a parcel. Do you trust me to give you your address? I thought maybe she was going to send a book or something small. A huge box of fabric arrived. I mean, massive. And Rosie was having a clear out, and she passed on things that she thought I might like. And all of the fabric in it was gorgeous and very much my colouring. I didn't come on here to show you because to be honest, I didn't want anyone thinking that I was hinting about people sending me fabric, because, yeah, no. But in amongst all the fabric from Rosie, and I also have to say, that box arrived on a day where I was really having a bad day. So it was just fantastic. And very, very kind of her. This fabric, I don't know where she got it from. Maybe if she's around, she might comment and let us know. This fabric was in the box. Now, actually, all the colours in it are me colours. Green and purple, not purple, I made that up. Green and brown and the orange and all the rest of it. It's just the background being pink. I thought, I really like this, but this is out of my comfort zone. So I risked it, and I really love it. I really, really love it. So just before I pop it on, I'll show you. This is what I mean about the back. So this back section is completely open down to this seam line. Now, I did think at the time when I was making it that if push came to shove, if I was showing bra strap at the back, I could just put some stitches in and close it up until a point that felt safe. But when I've tried it on, actually my bra strap is just sitting below that. I bet when I put it on now it's not. Anyway, it felt like it was. So I think I can get away without it, but I appreciate that I don't need the most supportive bra in the world, so perhaps if you had a thicker strap it might creep up over that, but for me it seemed okay. I'll put it on. Okay, so here it is, and I am really, so this clanking's getting on my nerves. I am really pleased with it. Yeah, I think it makes a really good alternative to my standard go-to, i.e. a button-up shirt, and it was a lot easier and a lot quicker to make. These Joli Lab patterns come with instructions in English and in French, so they're bilingual, as in each step has both options. I did find, in the past I found the instructions to be great. I wouldn't say these instructions weren't great, but this time they felt a little bit more like they had been translated from the French rather than gone over by somebody English speaking. But it's not a problem. I didn't find them to be too difficult. It's a fairly straightforward thing to make. It's definitely a lot easier to put together if I'm going to compare it to the Vali. I really like how it looks, and fabric wise I think, although I normally steer well clear of I find the fuchsia pink is alright, but I find still well clear of most pinks. To me, I think because there's so many colours in there, it's just reading as warm, and that works for me. But yeah, so it's a set-in shoulder. Actually, it's slightly off my shoulder, but that's me being pernickety. Centre front bodice piece with a V-neck. Now, I think this V-neck is quite a modest V, so if you wanted to, you know, if it's kind of something that you prefer, you could actually drop that down a bit. I don't know that I'd necessarily be bothered to. And then, yeah, so you've got the seam line here. There's a centre front gathering, so sort of, yeah, I think kind of like there-ish is just a bit of gathering. So it's still loose and floaty, but not quite as full on. I don't know why I'm comparing the two. I might stop that. But loose and floaty, sleeves are great. I mean, as I'm always saying, I like to roll my sleeves up. So for me, this works well to take me between this milder weather or colder weather until it gets warmer. And then the bit at the back, let's see whether you can see the bra strap. So, get all this hair out of the way. So you've got this vent at the back. Yes, I can feel bra strap is just there. And I just put a little button on the top. I'm really hoping, see if I do that, you can see. I mean, in my case, unless my hair was up, you'd never really see that because I've got such so much hair. But I like it as a detail, and I do often have my hair up during the day anyway. So yeah, I think it's really nice. And the other thing that occurred to me is that it would be lemon squeezy to turn this into a dress. I mean, you don't have to worry too much about your hip because you've got the fullness in the front. So you could literally just continue it down to whatever length you wanted. Knee length would look really nice, or super long. So I'm really pleased with it. I'm excited to have been a little bit more adventurous with fabric, and very thankful to Rosie for sending me all those lovely fabrics, but also pushing me a little bit out of my comfort zone with this one. I think I can definitely see myself making more of these. It was a lot easier. It was a fairly straightforward make. You're given the option, if you want to interface this centre front section, or actually both, the back as well, which I did do, and I don't know that I necessarily needed to. So, but with the viscose I probably would if I had something super slippery. But yeah, I really like it. Super happy. I think it's just a great one to throw on with jeans. And don't shoot me, I didn't make these jeans. I find I want these light wash denim. I find that if you try to make anything out of light wash denim, it kind of looks a little bit more homemade because you don't get all those kind of markings that they have Do you know what I mean? Anyway. In addition to that, I got some fabric this week. Where have I put my... Oh, there it is. Couldn't resist this. This came from Lamazi yesterday. It's got greyhounds on it, and as you may know, I've got a greyhoundy lurcher. And it's lovely, really lovely and soft. I think there's a couple of different colourways of this. And even one of the dogs on here is white and mine is white. And I'm fairly sure that one of them looks exactly like the greyhound tattoo that my daughter Grace has. And what I'm going to do with this jersey is I'm going to make her a pair of, they're called Hudson pants. The ones that are like nice joggers. They have a nice little pocket on the side. True bias. I'm fairly sure they're called Hudson. I'm getting confused because I've got a pair of Hudson shoes. I'm sure it's Hudson. So I haven't told her that. She's feeling a bit under pressure. She's in her last year of uni. She's got a lot on her plate. And yeah, her brother and sister came home last weekend. She couldn't make it. So I thought I'd send her a little pair, little reminder of home, with the dogs on, and something comforting that she can slob around in when she's studying, poor thing. I had a couple more patterns come from Fabuloso this week. I ordered, what did I order? That's dreadful, isn't it? You can't even remember. Oh yes, so one is the Rachel top, which I already talked about, so I can put that in there. So although it's only one page, I just thought having it on the nice paper would help. And the other is the Geese, not sure of the pronunciation, pants from Paper Cut Patterns as an alternative to try out. I bought the Billy pants pattern from Style Arc recently that I showed you, which is more of a pull-on style trouser. This one is more of a complicated make, or more complicated, in that it has a fly front, I think it has a welt pocket on the back, pleat front, and then tapers down at the leg. And I've seen some really, really beautiful versions of it on Instagram. I always check the hashtag for any patterns that I like the look of before I go and buy it. And I do want to make some trousers, and I thought I would try both options. So I'm going to make these and the Billy. Obviously the Billy will be quicker to make. I'm always a little bit wary of trousers with an elasticated back, so I'm going to try them both. I've got plenty of fabric in my stash to make them out of. But yeah, I've had my eye on this pattern for a little while, so I'm looking forward to making that. So that's what I've been up to this week. I am super, super pleased with this top. Next week, I won't be here on Friday. Well, I say that. Next week, I am taking part in the Frugal... Oh, it's not called Frugal Frocks anymore, is it? Is it called So Frugal? I'll put a title up if it's not. But anyway, the Frugal Challenge that's set by Sam Frugalissima and Ruan, the Yorkshire Sew Girl. It started on the 1st of March, so a couple of days ago. There are vloggers each day of the March, I think 2 on a lot of days, talking about the challenge and coming up with ideas. So the idea of this challenge is to encourage you to investigate some of the free sewing patterns out there. So everybody can enter. The entry date is the 31st of March, so you've got a month to make whatever you might want to. And the idea is that you use a free sewing pattern and fabric that you already have in your stash. It's a great challenge, and it's really worth following all those vloggers, because everybody's going to come up with different sewing patterns and different ideas of what you can make. So by the end of the month, you will be inundated with ideas and free sewing patterns. So it's my day to do it next Thursday. So instead of being here on Friday, I will be here on Thursday. Having said that, if I've already planned what I'm going to do for that video, so if I've done lots of sewing in the meantime. You may get 2 of me next week. I may also do a Friday Sews on Friday as well. Not entirely sure. I'm going to see how my week pans out. But I will definitely be here on Thursday. I will put the information for this challenge below in the description box because it's definitely one to keep an eye on. So yeah, that's me done for this week. Big thanks, Rosie, for the fabric. I will see you all soon. Thank you very much. I've got to say again, thank you for all that feedback last week. It was absolutely invaluable. See you soon. Bye bye.